Have you ever wondered how the Salvation Army came to be? Let's go back to London, England in 1865. Poverty and suffering were widespread issues across the city. William Booth, with his wife Catherine, committed to walking the streets of London and ministering to the broken, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to the poor, the homeless, and the hungry. Under their leadership, a movement began to grow, as did their ministry, recognizing that physical, emotional, social, and spiritual restoration go hand in hand. In William Booth's book, Darkest England and the Way Out, he states, "I must assert in the most unqualified way that it is primarily and mainly for the sake of saving the soul that I seek the salvation of the body." Today, the Salvation Army serves in more than 130 countries across the world, impacting over 25 million people each year in the United States. This looks different everywhere based on the needs of each community. We work to assess local needs by identifying the obstacles and challenges, then develop local programs designed to offer immediate relief, short-term care, and long-term growth. In addition to the well-known Red Kettle, thrift stores, and disaster services, the Salvation Army can be found serving people of all ages in all walks of life. We are motivated by our core values in all we do, choosing to be brave as we help disaster survivors who are searching for a glimpse of hope, showing compassion through our unemployment services and prison ministries for those looking for a way out of their brokenness, passionately caring for our youth through summer camps, daycare centers, educational programs, and providing gifts at Christmas for families in need, being uplifting through our rehabilitation centers and programs for those struggling with alcohol or substance abuse, building trust within communities as we combat human trafficking, love the elderly, and overcome poverty by creating a pathway of hope. At the heart of it all is still the same motivation behind our founder, William Booth's original mission when he started the Salvation Army: to seek and save the lost. Weekly worship services, Sunday school, and Bible studies are held in Salvation Army Corps or churches everywhere, and members gather together in community to encourage each other and grow in the love of God. Salvation Army officers, soldiers, employees, volunteers, donors, and friends help to uphold our branding promise of doing the most good. The Salvation Army, an international movement, is an evangelical part of the Universal Christian Church. Its message is based on the Bible. Its ministry is motivated by the love of God. Its mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in His name without discrimination. For more information on the Salvation Army in the USA and to connect with your local Salvation Army, visit www.salvationarmyusa.org.
Hi, I'm Shieldy, and I want to tell you about a really great group of people, the Salvation Army. This is a group of people that loves helping others and being friends with people others might ignore. But to get a full story, we have to go right across the world to London, England. 150 years ago, things in London were pretty bad. Lots of people didn't have enough money to buy food or clothes or soap to keep clean, and the rich people ignored them and wished they would go away. But then came William and Catherine Booth, who wanted to help the poor have a better life. They believed that God loved everyone and that they deserved a place to belong. So, in 1865, William and Catherine started the Salvation Army, a special army that gave people food, clean clothes, and helped them to find work. But most of all, it was a place where anyone could feel they were worth something. Since then, the Salvation Army has spread across the world to 128 countries. Today, we do a lot of things to help anyone who needs support. We still give people food and clothes, and we also help people find a place to stay when they have nowhere to sleep. We help people find jobs and provide rehabilitation from drugs and alcohol and support families who are hurting. Why? Because we want people to feel better and have a safe, happy life. The Salvation Army helps people when there is an emergency, like fires and floods, and we help people who have needs all year round. We get support from lots of different places to do our work, like generous people, businesses, and the government, who give money so we can help. And we have lots of staff and volunteers who make everything possible. In the US, the Salvation Army helps about 30 million people a year, and like William and Catherine, we work to give all people a place where they belong, sometimes just by being their friend. We believe that every little act of kindness lets people know that they are worth it, and that is a great gift you can give someone today.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Leslie Lyons, and I have the honor of being the current chair of the Pasadena Salvation Army Advisory Board. And I thank you for joining us this morning at our 8th annual Salvation Army Red Kettle Kickoff event. It is the time of year when we kick off our red kettle bell ringing, and you help us raise much needed funds that go directly back into our community. I so wish I was standing here and seeing all of your bright faces here this morning, but I'm thrilled that you're all joining us virtually, and I'm thankful that you are here to help us kick off the holiday season. As more and more Americans get vaccinated against COVID-19, it seems like the end is finally in sight. That makes it even easier to forget that for many in our community, the crisis is far from over. But hope marches on. The Red Kettle Kickoff event has raised over $440,000 over the last 7 years. That's incredible. And we are hoping to exceed $500,000 with this year's 2021 event. We have an exciting program for you this morning. Our history of interesting keynote speakers continues today, and we are excited for you to hear her story. We also are excited today to introduce you to the new Corps officers for the Pasadena Tab, Majors Roy and Paula Wild, who joined us in July from their most recent assignment in San Jose. At this time, I invite Major Paula Wild to come to the podium for the invocation.
Thank you for joining us today. If you will join me for a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together for a special celebration of generosity and grace that surrounds us every year that we have the Kettle Kickoff. We thank you for those who open their hearts and their pockets so that we can continue life-sustaining programs and offer things to the community that are so greatly needed. Lord, we pray as we continue our time of this Kettle Kickoff that you will bless our efforts, and just thank you so much for all that you do for us and for the generosity of those in our community that continue to partner with us to bring hope this holiday season. We pray all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Fritz Coleman retired as Southern California's beloved weathercaster for NBC4 News. Fritz has received countless accolades over the last 3 decades. He is also a stand-up comic who performs often at Pasadena's own Ice House. But what we love most about him is that he gives his time to numerous charitable activities and frequently hosts hundreds of local events to raise awareness of services that benefit the underserved in our community. He has been a longtime supporter of the Salvation Army and involved in many of the Army's events, including as MC for the past, I think it's 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, our MC this morning, Mr. Fritz Coleman.
Good morning, everybody. I'm missing the smell of eggs some year. Oh, I can't wait for that to happen. I'm so happy to be part of the Pasadena Salvation Army's 8th annual Red Kettle Kickoff. This is really the official start of the holiday season for many of us. We are grateful to be able to connect with you virtually again this year. It's been a trying 2 years, we don't have to tell you. We are originally thinking about a hybrid event, but then listening to you, our supporters, and our sponsors, we decided the safest thing to do was to stay fully virtual so you're fully comfortable. We know how much you all look forward to this event, and it is one of the best ways to get our season of giving started. First of all, we have to thank our beloved sponsors. On behalf of the Salvation Army of Pasadena, we thank our Platinum Kettle sponsor, Chick-fil-A, our Gold Kettle sponsors, Hill, Divine, and Gong, and Sharp Seating. And we have our Silver Kettle sponsors to thank, Greg and Cheryl Vaca. Our Red Kettle sponsors, Bob and Ruthie Cheney, East Central Credit Union, Kiwanis Club of Pasadena, Manufacturers Bank, Mijares Restaurant, Ted Levine Drum Corps, and the Tournament of Roses. And also our media sponsor, The Outlook. We couldn't do it without them. And this is a very exciting year. Technology finally is going to benefit us. Let me show you how. We have the new tip-tap system. In any of the places where you find a red kettle in the Pasadena area, this will be activated. All you have to do for the tip-tap system is to take a credit card, tap one of the levels that you'd like to donate at, a $5, a $10, a $20 level. Say you don't have cash, do the tip-tap, and it will automatically register with our vast platoon of bookkeepers here at the Salvation Army Tabernacle in Pasadena. And it's the future. And I just know that we can't make it any easier than this. And by next year, you'll be able to buy a home this way. Or you'll be able to use Bitcoin. But right now, we're just going to tip-tap you with your credit cards, and it's could not be easier. It's automatic. There's no chance to make a mistake. And cash is dirty. So let's face it. We appreciate you. So look for that wherever you make your donations with the friendly red kettle. Now, it's my great pleasure to show you a special video to get you into the kettlebell spirit. Take a look.
Elliott celebrated his 2-yard touchdown run by jumping into the big Salvation Army kettle.
Kettles have become part of popular culture and are synonymous with Christmas. But did you know that when you put $1 in a Salvation Army red kettle, or when you click donate online, the money actually stays in your community and helps people in need all year long? When you donate to the Salvation Army, you are giving recovery, shelter, food, comfort, and breaking the cycle of poverty. You are providing emergency assistance to families who can't make ends meet this month, providing opportunities for children to reach their full potential, keeping seniors engaged, active, and cared for. You are doing the most good. And that's happening across the globe. The Salvation Army is in more than 130 countries around the world. One of the things that makes the Salvation Army special is that while the key programs and services are similar in many cities, our presence in each community is different. That's because we are focused on filling the unique needs in each area. In Anchorage, Alaska, it means giving people struggling with opioid addictions a chance to achieve sobriety and return to their families and communities whole and healthy. In Torrance, California, that means that low-income and homeless men and women can learn a skilled trade that helps them get and keep a job that will provide for their needs. In Baltimore, Maryland, that means people living in areas where healthy food options are scarce can have access to affordable groceries in their own neighborhood. And when disaster strikes, big or small, we are there. There with food, comfort, and necessities. There to pray alongside those who have lost it all. And we are there first because we already live and work in the affected communities. We are there until people restore and rebuild their lives long after the story leaves media headlines. When you donate to the Salvation Army, you are making change in people's lives, offering light in the darkness, hope where there was none before, and resources to grow and sustain. Next time you have an opportunity to give to the Salvation Army, you'll know you are not only supporting one of the largest global nonprofit organizations, one with a lasting reputation for doing more with less. You'll know you are uplifting lives and strengthening your community. Thank you for your support.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for, again, our 8th annual Kettle Kickoff event. And I'm so glad that you're here joining us today. And as it was mentioned earlier, that my wife and I, Major Paula, and myself are newly appointed Corps officers here for the Pasadena Tabernacle. And we couldn't be more delighted and more excited to be here in Pasadena. You know, this is our 7th appointment in 22 years of service with the Salvation Army. And I've actually grown up in the Salvation Army. I'm a 5th-generation Salvationist, and my wife is a 3rd-generation Salvationist. So this idea of serving the community, it really is in our DNA and it's in our blood. And we have just been very impressed with Pasadena since we've come here, and just the sense of community that's here, the sense of a willingness to kind of gather together and help out those in need is very, very evident here in Pasadena. And we have just felt so welcomed and feel at place here in Pasadena. So thank you for welcoming us, and it's such a great opportunity to be here and to serve. I don't know if you know this or not, but the Salvation Army has been serving the Pasadena area since 1888. So for 130 years, the Salvation Army has been offering hope to the community here in Pasadena. In fact, the theme for our Christmas season this year across the nation for the Salvation Army is Hope Marches On. And that's really what the Salvation Army does on a day-to-day basis. This is the time of year where we set aside and we kind of focus on ourselves, if you will, to let people know that we are out on the streets, we're raising money, we're raising funds. We're most visible at Christmas time, and you've probably seen the kettles at the in front of the stores. But really, the reality is it's through your donations, through the kettles and the sponsors that have helped us out today, and the donations we receive really help us throughout the year to provide the services that we offer here in Pasadena on a day-to-day basis. And I'm excited for not only being here in this appointment in Pasadena, but I'm really excited for the future and what the future holds for the Salvation Army here as we serve those that are suffering within our community. Talking about Hope Marches On, you know, I said that the Salvation Army has been providing hope for about 130 years here in Pasadena, and we're continuing that tradition as we are already have broken ground on a new housing facility of being able to provide permanent supportive housing for 67 individuals that currently don't have homes, and 15 of those are going to be for vets, and the rest individuals for men and for women. And we've already broken ground. In fact, we've already started the demolition, and you can see here with some of the pictures that the demo has started and the building has come down. And we are excited that hopefully by the May of 2023 that we will be having a grand opening of the Diane and John Mullins Hope Center. And not only offering hope to individuals that live there, but the exciting thing about this is that not only will we provide housing, but we're going to have an opportunity to provide wraparound services for those individuals that will be living on site. We're going to be able to have a full-service food pantry for those that are living there on site, where people can come and have a shopping experience to be able to get food and help meet their needs with food on a daily basis. And we'll also have wraparound services where we'll have case managers on site, and expanding our current social services with our food pantry program and with the different outreach programs that we have for the community. And so we are so excited for this to happen. And the reality is we could not have this sense of hope marching on through this new housing facility without your support and without the city's support and all of our donors. It's a community that has made this happen. It's the community of Pasadena that is enabling us to provide hope to so many individuals here in Pasadena. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time to be here today. Thank you for your commitment to the Salvation Army, and thank you for enabling us to serve those that are in need. You know, I mentioned that my wife and I have only been here just since June. We've only been here for a few months. And I just want to just let you know that your gifts really do make an impact. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I was outside of our facility here in Pasadena, and I had the opportunity to meet one of our clients that we serve, and her name is Leanne. And she's a client that's been coming here for years, as I got to find out. And I was having a conversation with her. And you know, the thing that really struck me in what she said, as somebody new coming here to the ministry of what happens here in Pasadena, is she said, you know, Major, I'm so grateful that you are here, that regardless of how many times I come, that I always feel welcomed and you always provide a need for me, and I just want to say thank you for that. And this individual, Leanne, she also said, whenever I come here, I do feel like somebody knows me and they know me by name. And I just want to encourage you that, when we see people suffering on the streets, when we see people who are maybe down and out, a lot of times I get asked the question, what can we do to serve the homeless population? What are some of the key things we can do? And I want to say that the most important thing we can do is to see these people as individuals, as someone that is human, just like you and I are human, and see them through that lens, that we can offer them hope by just simply listening to their story, knowing their name, and providing some sorts of assistance. And that's what we do here at the Salvation Army every single day, 365 days a year, and we could not do it without your help. So I want to say thank you for your support. I want to say thank you for standing behind us, helping us fulfill our mission, and I just want to say Merry Christmas, God bless, and have a fantastic day.
Well, I was made aware that Tip Tap is already functioning, so they said, kick down, Mr. Philanthropy. Take your credit card and let's see if it works. So here's a credit card with a chip in it, and I'm going to make a $20 donation, and when I hold the card in front of the Tip Tap, a green light comes on, letting me know that I have been generous, and it's automatically tabulated by the Salvation Army. Simple enough, you don't even have to carry cash. That's wonderful. And I made an offhand comment about Bitcoin and the Salvation Army. Guess what? The Salvation Army accepts Bitcoin. So if you are one of the 6 people in America that understands how Bitcoin works, we would be more than happy to take your donation. I don't know how you get the Bitcoin to us. We'll come to your house and pick it up. But anyway, that's the future. And the Salvation Army is already on board with Bitcoin. I'm so honored to introduce this lady. People that work at JPL are magic. I've met them over the years. We've used them repeatedly in helping us to understand about El Nino and various climate crisis weather changes, and they are spectacular, as is this lady. Janelle Wellens graduated with her BS in aerospace engineering from MIT and now works at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory as an instrument operations engineer. She's won various team and individual technical awards in her time there, and has also been awarded the Bruce Murray Award. This is for inspiring students to engage in STEM, quenching their thirst for knowledge, and sparking a curiosity greater than the stars in the sky. Her job consists of talking to scientific instruments in space that allow us to learn more about the places we go. Her current projects consist of Earth-observing missions that are measuring the ways our planet changes. Never been a time in our history when it's been more important than right now. Her current projects also include some of her previous work that she's done at the Moon and on Saturn. Additionally, she has also served as the president of the Black Excellence Strategic Team, one of JPL's employee resource groups. We are so honored to have this lady with us this morning. Please welcome Janelle Wellens.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much to the Salvation Army of Pasadena for inviting me to speak to you all here today. And I figured with a motto like doing the most good, what better thing to talk about than what it's like to beat the odds when you believe in yourself, and then what you can do afterwards to make a positive contribution to the world. So, growing up, young Janelle, I was always curious. I loved to get my hands on things, and my mom would bring me in for Bring Your Child to Work Day, where I would sit at the messy desk and pretend that I'm an engineer for the day. And growing up in that environment just planted the seed for me that anything was possible if you put your mind to it. Let's fast forward a little bit, and now I'm in high school. And things are starting to get a little more serious too, because before, when I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, now I had to actually start thinking about it. And for real this time, college applications were being talked about, and what are you going to major in? And I honestly had no clue. And I had started to get this mail addressed to me in my name. That was a weird thing to happen. And it was talking about all of these wonderful programs from all around the country where I could come and study and learn and run and do track and sports. And it was so very overwhelming that I just started to take the letters and throw them into the trash can. Which, by the way, if you're looking into colleges, don't do that. On one particular day, I came home from school and I had my set of letters and I looked through them and they were headed towards the bin. But on that particular day, my mom happened to be in the kitchen with me and she saw me walking the stack to the trash can and stopped me because on top, there was this pamphlet from a school called the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I never heard of it, but my mom had. And she said, listen, this is a good school, and we're going to sit down and look at what this pamphlet says. And so that's exactly what we did. We laid it out on the kitchen table and looked over it and saw that it was talking about this really cool summer program for students all over the country to come to MIT for a summer and be immersed in a world of science, engineering, math, and also literature. It's important for scientists to be able to communicate as well. But the best part of all was that if you got in, it was free. And that's all my mom needed to see. I was applying to this program. With all the classes and the sports, I really didn't want to add something else to my pile, but I did it, and I did it for her. And so when a classmate asked me not too much later what I was planning to do that summer, my initial thought was, I'm going to run cross country. I was a runner, it's what I did. But then I remembered that I applied to this program at this school called MIT, if you've heard of it. And he said, heard of it? Do you understand how impossible it is to get into that school for anything? And I said, no. I don't think I did. And that night I went home for the first time. I looked up the statistics on this program and found that in the previous year, over 2,000 students applied and only one got in from the state of New Jersey, where I was from. So clearly, it was a wrap. Why in the world would MIT let in someone like me? Someone who wasn't perfect, didn't have straight A's, was not even the top of their own class in a public school shared by many towns in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey. Sorry, Logan Township, but that's just how it is. And so when my mom called me that spring as I was at track practice saying I needed to come home right now and there was a package in the mail, I urged her, Mom, please do not get too excited. We've talked about this already. I'm not getting in. But she was urging me to come home, and so I did. And I met her in the driveway. She's waiting in the door, holding the package in her hand, saying, Janelle, open it. And I'm saying, Mom, I just don't want you to get your hopes up. And she looks at me and says, get my hopes up? Janelle, they don't send you a package to tell you that you didn't get in. What? I didn't think of it that way. And now all of a sudden I was excited to open this package. And so I grabbed it from her, teared it open, read the first word, and it said, congratulations. What? Congratulations. We did a little dance. Who do we call first? Dad, uncles, aunts, my grandfather. It was just so overwhelming. And it just goes to show that sometimes we're not even aware what we're capable of. And even if you don't have it all figured out ahead of time and you're not the perfect person, the perfect planner, the perfect doer, it's still possible for the impossible to happen to you. And so I saw myself that summer in the program at MIT, having the time of my life, surrounded by students who were just like me, who were curious, who were willing to stay up until 2 a.m. in the morning to solve a math problem that didn't even count as a grade. And I suddenly knew what I didn't know before, and that's that I wanted to go to school at MIT. And so I applied. Of course, I freaked out every day, and I was admitted into the class of 2016 and started my journey. I remember waving goodbye to my parents as they dropped me off, moved me into my dorm room, and suddenly feeling this sense of, okay, now what? I'm here. I've made it to this goal that I had, but what am I supposed to do next? Well, first step was to choose a major. Okay, well, let me take a look at the list. And there's lots of engineering at this school, MIT. I could be an electrical engineer, a computer engineer, a civil engineer, mechanical, biochemical. There's so many options. But then I came across this one, and it was called aerospace engineering. And honestly, I saw the word space, and I thought, how cool is that? So I saw myself in the introduction to aerospace engineering class. And I remember on that first day sitting down with everyone else, listening to the professor at the board, going over the syllabus. What are we going to learn over the course of that year? And he talks about the rocket equation, and he talks about how planes fly. And then he brings up this image of an astronaut fixing the Hubble telescope in space. I remember just being in awe. This is what it's all about. We get to be engineers who touch space. And then the professor looks at us and says that he is the astronaut in the photo. I could not believe it. I just went from never knowing anyone in my entire life with a third-degree connection to somebody who worked for NASA to being in the same room as someone who had traveled to space. And that was an opportunity that I couldn't just let pass by. I decided right then and there, even though I know absolutely nothing about this subject, I'm going to be an aerospace engineer. I was inspired as I listened to my professors in all the classes I took. They talked about this magical place called the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Let's pretend we're going to land something on Mars like JPL. Let's pretend we're going to send something to Saturn like JPL. This three-letter word, JPL, JPL. It was everywhere. It was unavoidable, and I knew it was the place I wanted to be. I applied for the internship every single year, and every single year I was rejected. I watched as my classmates had the time of their lives that summer working on Mars rovers and projects in space, and I thought, why not me? What's wrong with me? And this lingering feeling of not belonging, not being good enough, being an imposter in a sea of geniuses where I honestly was never supposed to be there. But then I thought back to that summer program and something that we had learned about the personal delta, a math term that means the difference, and thought about my own personal difference of growth from the me that just started and the me of today. And I realized then that I had every reason to be confident because I had grown. Every small step in the right direction counts. And as long as you're improving, it means you're going in the right direction to meeting your goals. And I don't know what changed. Maybe I got a little bit of confidence when I started to think of myself that way, but I got the job at JPL. Now, JPL is a place that is known for its space robotics that enable humanity to explore the unknowns. And even though my job as an instrument operations engineer is to talk to these scientific instruments that allow us to learn more about the places we go, I was scared out of my mind to start there. I had made it to another goal, but then again was doubting my own abilities. I was put on this project called the Cassini Mission to Saturn, and this was a historical project because Cassini had been in space for about 18 years when I joined the project, and it was in its last legs about the grand finale. And I was told that it was going to be my job to operate its cameras and take these breathtaking, totally unreal images of Saturn and its rings and moons. And I remember them giving me the controls and feeling like, are you serious? Billions of dollars. Are you sure you want me? But I'm glad that they believed in me because they believed in me, I was able to do great things. So you're here, you finally have the confidence, you're doing the thing, you made all your goals, but you may still feel this sense of emptiness or what next? what do you do when there's nothing left? Well, I started to think back to my time at MIT and how I had struggled in believing in myself, and I had struggled in knowing the correct path to take. I didn't have many mentors, and there was no one in my family who could tell me anything about this world of STEM. But I discovered something, and it's that if you have the chance to beat the odds, no matter what that means for you, and you're not sure what to do next, you can always make space for good. Now, let me explain a little bit about what that means. Now, at work, I can take that phrase very literally. Making space for good means working on these projects that may not be as flashy as Saturn or as flashy as Mars or Venus, but are just as important to us as people on this planet. I'm currently working on 3 missions that are observing Earth right now, and they're going to be taking data that is absolutely transformational about how we understand our planet. One of which is going to give us a better understanding of the relationship between pollutants and human health in cities around the world. Because of this work, I just feel so grateful because I have fulfillment in what I do every single day. But being able to share that work is just as important. Can you imagine if we left our solar system and decided to not tell anyone about it? To not share that information about what we learn, about the way that our Earth is changing? That's at the core of my job, being able to talk and look at these young girls and these young boys who may never imagine themselves in a space like NASA and tell them that if I could do it, you can do it too. Now, another way to make good and make space for good is to enable the path for others. I flew out here to California when I accepted my job completely alone. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any family here. I had never interned at JPL, so this would only be my second time since the interview stepping foot on the property. And it was really nerve-wracking. I got butterflies on the highway, driving past the sign, NASA JPL next exit. And I wasn't sure of myself. And what I can remember most is that when I did start and I did join that first project, that I was welcomed with open arms, but I still felt that I lacked in a community that could understand the experience of being a Black woman in space. There's just not that many of us. And I just didn't feel like I belonged looking around the room. And so I did some digging. I wanted to find out, does JPL have something, a community for Black employees to get together and cheer each other on and let each other know there is space for them here? And the answer was there was. There was one. It just wasn't that active anymore. But they said, hey, Janelle, if you want to take over, by all means. And I accepted that invitation and ran with it. And we grew the group from just being a community where we could go for hikes and play games in the cafeteria to a community, an employee resource group for the lab that could affect institutional change so that the tomorrow would be better than today for the next Janelle who arrived alone and unsure of themselves. So I shared 2 examples of how you can make space for good, but there are so many more. You can make space for good by sharing your story with others. Or you can make space for good by lending your knowledge and expertise and uplift someone else. Or perhaps you share space for good by doing good on yourself, taking care of our mental well-being, our emotional well-being will only enable us to be better for the world that we wish to serve. Or perhaps it means contributing to the Salvation Army. And honestly, if you're listening here today, you've already made that step. We all have in us the ability to contribute something positive to this world we call home. No matter how big or how small, you can and we can create space for good. Thank you.
I want to tell you, Janelle, that was breathtaking. You are such an inspirational person and have this great light this great spirit about yourself. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most inspirational keynote speeches I've ever heard. So we're all very, very honored to have heard you this morning. Thank you very much for sharing yourself with us. And keep up the good work over at JPL. Unbelievable. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the Social Services Director for Pasadena Tabernacle, Sarah Burnell.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us online and taking time out of your day to listen to our stories. As mentioned, my name is Sarah, and I am the Interim Director of Social Services here at the Salvation Army Pasadena Tabernacle. I want to share with you just how well our social service program has been doing over the past year. As everyone knows and has experienced for themselves, the COVID-19 pandemic has greatly impacted our community. Individuals and families who never imagined having to utilize a food pantry found themselves at our door. Our clients who were on the up and up and bettering their lives found themselves further back than ever before. And the number of people that we served on a daily basis reached an all-time high. In 2020 alone, 16,893 meals and food boxes were provided. 73,000 nights of housing were supplied to our senior citizens, as well as the men and women who are living in recovery. 176 clothing vouchers were issued to our neighbors experiencing homelessness. We supplied 755 individuals with Thanksgiving dinner, and 722 Christmas food baskets were provided. More than ever, families and individuals found themselves unsure of how they would be able to provide these basic needs for themselves and their families. They found themselves at our door, and we had the great privilege of being able to serve them. In 2020, we were able to serve 1,785 children with Christmas toys or bicycles. 150 kids received back-to-school clothing and school supplies. 96 high school students received gift cards during our Senior Appreciation Day, and we had 288 weekly attendees in our after-school youth and music program. We have been so fortunate to be able to serve the wonderful families in our community, and this year we are continuing to do the same with the help of all of you. We could not do this alone. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused worldwide destruction that has impacted all of us in some way. And one last thing I would like to discuss this morning with all of you is the increase in domestic violence our country is experiencing in relation to this pandemic. LA County reported that every month of 2020 had an increase of domestic violence than the previous year. May of 2020 tripled in reports of domestic violence cases compared to 2019. At our program, we've had several families come to us as they are fleeing domestic violence situations and are in need of extra support. One of these survivors is Esmeralda Coro. She is a woman who I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with when she came for services at our office. She is a mother of 2 young children who found herself in an unimaginable situation. Still, she is persevering, and we are so fortunate to know and serve her family. She is here today and giving us the privilege of hearing her story. Please welcome Esmeralda Coro. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I feel honored being able to come here and share my story. Being a mother of a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old has been very hard. 2021 has been a very hard year for my family. I became homeless due to domestic violence. Having Pasadena Salvation Army here has been one of the greatest blessings. The staff is the sweetest, and they're so amazing. They make me feel like family every single time I come. They really focus on all my needs, and they have been the greatest. I really feel like all the donations, the sponsors, I want to say thank you so much for everything. If it wasn't for food being on my table, it was Pampers or school supplies. I am so grateful for having Pasadena Salvation Army here and helping with everything that I needed.
Esmeralda, we love you. You were so brave to come and tell your story. And honestly, you're the reason, and folks in a similar circumstance to you are the reason we're here today. So we hope you have a great holiday season. We hope you find peace and harmony in your life and give your children a big hug for us. That was awesome for you to share your story. What started in 1891 as one pot to collect funds to feed a free Christmas dinner to San Francisco's destitute and poverty-stricken community has grown into the Salvation Army's annual Red Kettle campaign, one of the most impactful and iconic outreach initiatives in the world, year after year after year. To the homeless, the Red Kettles represent safe shelter from the streets. To the hungry, they promise a warm meal. To those struggling with addiction and alcoholism, they mean the possibility of a new life free of the bondage of chemicals. And for everyone, the Red Kettles represent hope. The Salvation Army's work this holiday season is going to be even more crucial to serve the most vulnerable, regardless of race or gender or sexual orientation, ethnicity, or gender orientation in our community. Please join our effort to keep hope marching on. We are so excited to announce something new and different this year. Since we can't pass the kettle in person this year, our UCLA versus USC competition is going to have to wait until next year. The Salvation Army still needs your financial support, so we are very excited to launch the 1888 Challenge. Where do you hear about this? The Pasadena Salvation Army, as was mentioned, was founded in 1888 and is 133 years old. In the next 133 hours, we are asking you to help us raise $18,880. This challenge begins now and will end on Wednesday, November 24th at 10 p.m., just in time for us to celebrate Thanksgiving. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to kick off the Salvation Army Red Kettle campaign by ringing the first bell of the season. Hopefully, the Salvation Army will be blessed with your generosity. Thank you for everyone supporting us at the Salvation Army. Please give to the 1888 Challenge. We can't wait to see you all next year, hopefully in person, at the 9th Annual Red Kettle Kickoff Breakfast. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas.